All right, back for a second round tonight. This is going to be about news. And I wanted to go over some stuff specifically on the hypocrisy of the DA in Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, and Letitia James, who is a district attorney for the state of New York. This is absolutely ridiculous. There's this case right now. There's a woman named Savannah Antao. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm not sure. But she got her face pummeled on a live interview by a woman named Brianna Rivers. Now, Savannah is a pro-life activist, and she works for an organization called Live Action. And she was doing on-street interviews. And she's talking to Brianna Rivers about something, and she happened to make a statement, and I think it reflected some of the views of Brianna Rivers that she knew about. And about a few seconds after she made that comment, Brianna Rivers gave her a right hook and then slapped her in the head with her left hand. And then she walked off flipping the double bird. I'm not going to do it. But, yeah, she walked off flipping the double bird to the cameraman and to Savannah. So, charges are brought. Second-degree assault charges in Manhattan. Now, Brianna's from the Bronx. So, probably a tough girl. But she still should not have punched this woman in the face for doing a live interview. If she didn't want to talk to her, she could just walk away. But she punched her in the face and then slapped her in the side of the head. So, Alvin Bragg's office in Manhattan brought charges against her for second-degree assault. Here's the thing, though. Alvin Bragg and his compatriots down there decided not to turn over the evidence to Brianna's attorneys in a timely manner. Therefore, a judge dismissed the case. And the Manhattan DA's office had to drop the charges. So, what the heck is going on? If there was somebody out there that was committing violence on the right, you can be damn sure that they would have been prosecuted by Alvin Bragg's Manhattan DA's office. 100%. And Letitia James would have been right on top of that, too. So, why am I saying they're hypocrites? Look at what they did to Trump. If you can remember who Alvin Bragg is the man that brought the bookkeeping case against Trump to trial. And what was the bookkeeping case? Supposedly, there was a bookkeeping error in which there was money accounted for as a retainer to Michael Cohen, which was Trump's attorney, that Alvin Bragg says was actually a reimbursement for hush money paid to Stormy Daniels, who Trump so lovingly calls horseface, also known as. So what did Alvin Bragg do? Since it was a misdemeanor charge in bookkeeping, he had to come up with a secondary crime that bookkeeping was covering up to make it a felony. Because the misdemeanor charges that he could have brought for the bookkeeping case, which is basically an accounting error. Now, obviously, anybody who knows anything about billionaires knows they don't do their own accounting. They pay people to do that. Just like I would if I was a billionaire. I wouldn't do my own accounting. I'd pay somebody to do it. So when you're paying your lawyer a retainer, it's a retainer fee. Now, what happened was Michael Cohen took it upon himself because Stormy Daniels was out there spreading around information saying that she had slept with Trump. He took it upon himself to pay her. He took it out another mortgage against his house. This was not directed by Trump, and he even stated so. He took out this money, pays Stormy Daniels. Later on, Trump pays a retainer to him. Now, when he pays that retainer, this is where Alvin Bragg says that payment to Michael Cohen was actually a crime because it should have been legitimately accounted for campaign finances. Now, mind you, the campaign was over at this point because he paid Michael Cohen after the election was already over. But Alvin Bragg in his indictment stated that there was a secondary crime to make this misdemeanor become a felony. And there was 34 counts of this. How was he able to do that? Well, first, to be able to do it in the indictment, he has to state a secondary crime. You know what he didn't do? He didn't state what the crime was. He just said that misdemeanor bookkeeping account was to cover up for a secondary crime, which made that bookkeeping account a felony. That's how he ended up getting 34 felony counts. So they took this to trial. So what happened? The jury in Manhattan, floored me again, that finds Trump guilty. Because, I'm so totally surprised that happened in Manhattan. So they find Trump guilty. But here's the problem. One, they never said what the secondary crime was. Two, when the judge gave instructions to the jury, what did he tell them? He said that you do not have to unanimously agree to what the secondary crime is. As long as you agree that there was a secondary crime committed, you can find him guilty on the felony count. Now, there was already a case in Louisiana that went all the way up to the Supreme Court that said that the jurors have to find unanimously as to the crime itself before they can actually convict you of the crime. So that judge gave illegal instructions to the jury. This is going to be overturned on appeal. But Alvin Bragg just basically took this out of thin air, knowing that Trump doesn't do his own accounting, said that he was involved in a cover-up scheme. And mind you, paying hush money to somebody is not illegal. Media outlets do it all the time. It's called a catch and kill. They pay someone for their story, and then they just don't run it. So what Cohen did is actually paid Stormy Daniels for her story exclusively, and then it couldn't be run anywhere else. She couldn't be interviewed by anybody else in that case. So paying what's called hush money to people is not necessarily a crime. And it's definitely not a crime in this case because Cohen himself admitted he did it on his own. But somehow Alvin Bragg was able to convince a Manhattan jury, again, surprised, that Trump was guilty. So he gets convicted of this, and now he becomes a felon. So how's Letitia James involved? Letitia James was involved in helping Alvin Bragg do this, I believe. And then on top of that, Letitia James, the Attorney General for the state of New York, brought civil charges against Trump, stating that he falsified the value of Mar-a-Lago when trying to get a loan. Now, that is illegal. It is illegal. You can't do that. So, what did he, or it wasn't illegal, it wasn't illegal. They brought a civil case up. I believe it actually could have been illegal. I don't know if the statute of limitations had run out of it or something, but she brought the civil case. So, she ends up getting convicted on that. Even though the bank that he got the money from testified for him, and several appraisers said that the appraisal for Mar-a-Lago was well within the margin that he stated on the documents to get the loan. So, again, another case that's going to be overturned on appeal. So Trump's going to get the civil case overturned on appeal. He's going to get the criminal cases overturned on appeal. But the point here of this is the hypocrisy of the left. You get these two, one attorney general for the state of New York and the district attorney for Manhattan will prosecute Trump out of thin air, but when they got a clear-cut case of assault from a leftist, they just forget to turn over the evidence in time and the case gets dismissed. Ha ha, right?